everyone, this is a little bit more of a relaxed video than I would usually do. As you can probably tell, I am not wearing any makeup. I don't even think I've brushed my hair. Theo is yelling in the background. We both have colds. My dad was kind enough to share them with us makeup free today because I just didn't want to be like rubbing my eyes and feeling sorry for myself while wearing a full face of makeup. So I'm doing my mid-month wrap up. It was the book buddy-a-thon this month as well. I partnered with Jen, who I love so much. I feel like I didn't really read that much, but I kind of did read enough to make me happy. I have 2 books until I hit my goal of 60 books for my Goodreads challenge for the year, and then I think I'm gonna up it to 100 because I just have it sitting at 60. I don't know if I said that. There's bird chirping. Let's get on with the things that I watched and the things that I read. So the first thing that I finished watching on Netflix was Homeland season 5. I know that they're up to season 6, that's finished, and I have seen spoilers for that, but I watch it on Netflix and I like hoard seasons. Like I had refused to watch anything past like season 3.5 for the longest time. Then I was like, I've just got to watch this because it stresses me out so much, that show, but I do love it. But yeah, season 5, oh my gosh, and then knowing what happens in season 6. The other 2 shows that I've been keeping up to date with every single week are Riverdale, which just had its season finale I think on Friday my time. It was put on Netflix. Every week it's put on Netflix because no one has the distribution rights to it except for Netflix in Australia, so it's updated weekly for us. And then also I've been watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and I've been watching that every single week. Love both of those shows. If you are watching RuPaul's Drag Race, please let me know in the comments down below who you think is going to win. I love Valentina. She is my gal. I think that she's great. I also love Shea Coulee and Nina Bonina Brown, but like I just I know that like Nina Bonina Brown's sort of a bit like, but yeah, I really love those 3. I just love all of them. They're all so great. Oh my gosh. And Peppermint. Oh, how did I forget Peppermint? I love Peppermint too. Okay, so now I've talked about the things that I have been watching. These are the things that I have read so far this month. Before I ever met you, I think it was Rachel from Bookish Wonderland. She is one of my Instagram friends. I'll link her down below so you can check her out. She maybe hauled this book or wanted to read this book or something, and I was like, I've got to get that. It looks so good. And it really was. It was 4 stars. It is set in Canada, in Vancouver, which I loved because I never read books that are set in Canada. Like, I don't know, they've just managed to elude me. A lot of the books seem to be centered around, you know, like fantasy worlds or like they're in America and stuff. So yeah, it was really cool to kind of get a sense of Canada. Obviously, like not a true sense of it, but it was cool to have something set in Canada. This is about a girl who is a single mum. She has just moved from like a more rural part of Canada back in with her parents, and she's working for her father's company, and she is the assistant for his partner, who is like maybe 15 or so years older than her, and they develop a thing, and I loved it. It was really, really good. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars, and I would highly recommend this one. The second book that I read was The Young Elites by Marie Lu. I gave this one 3 stars. I'm not too sure what I was expecting, but I feel like it just didn't deliver on whatever it was that I wanted from it. I know The Young Elites it's basically about like a band of villains. Like the main character is a villain, but it's sort of been like spectacularly failed in a way. There was this plague that ripped through her lands, and it gives the kids like these magical powers, and it's like people who got it who were over the age of like 18 or whatever, they died, and the younger ones, some of them, Malfetos, have like markings and special powers. And yeah, like, you know, she's kind of recruited by these people for like an uprising. It's the standard sort of formula, but for those things to happen, it has to be done like super duper well for me. Why is there a plane like every single... Hurry up, I want to go to bed and watch Netflix. The next book I read was the first one that I read for the book buddy-a-thon, and that was to pick a book to buddy read with your buddy, and that was The Thousandth Floor by Katherine McGee. I kept calling her Kristen McGee, and Kristen McGee is actually a person who does MTV yoga. She's like a yoga instructor, so sorry about that, babes. She's really good though. If you can ever find any of her stuff, I would strongly suggest Kristen McGee, probably MTV Power Yoga. It's got this really great soundtrack, and that's my kid screaming, but yeah, I would definitely check out the Power Yoga. You feel really good, it makes you sweat. So The Thousandth Floor has been described as like a futuristic gossip girl, and it's hello, a futuristic gossip girl. It's basically where Manhattan has become this giant skyscraper Can we put that down, baby? I feel like this is definitely a book that could have benefited from having a map at the beginning of it. You know, when sometimes you read a book with a map and you are intimidated by that? This was described, I mean, there are people who are living on the lower floors. You walk into a corridor and there are their apartments, but then there's other places where there's entire parks. And the systems, and it just doesn't make any sense. So I had to give this one 2 stars because it felt like there were just too many viewpoints and there was so much stuff going on, but none of it was relevant to the story. It opens up with a person falling to their death, and then it sort of like goes back 2 months, and man, like those 2 months feel like 2 years. Like you just get way too much of a sense of what's going on. So I don't know, I think that some of the viewpoints definitely could have gone. Next up, I read Two Summers, which is sort of like sliding doors. It's a girl and she is going to France for the summer with her dad, and then in one timeline her father cancels and she has to stay home, and then in the other one she goes to France, and it's sort of that. This book I gave 3 stars to because it had like a really bad explanation for everything, but I can appreciate the fact that the author went to so much trouble to sort of have those 2 timelines, and it's not like she's repeating things. Like when you're in one timeline, it's like you live those days and then you go to the next timeline and the timeline keeps continuing on from where the last one finished, if that makes sense. Romances in both. Neither of them were really convincing, so I mean, it was a good quick read. Like, I think that I finished this off in a night. I was planning on vlogging most of the book buddy-a-thon, and like it just didn't end up happening because like nothing was happening during the day and I was doing all of my reading at night. The next book I read was one of my most anticipated reads for May, and that is Just Dreaming by Kirsten Gier. I gave this one 4 stars just because it was an amazing conclusion to the trilogy and it was really anticipated for me. Everything just wrapped up really well. I would definitely say that in comparison to her Ruby Red trilogy, this is a little bit more on the upper spectrum of YA. In Ruby Red, it's never really discussed like the girl having sex with her boyfriend or anything, but in the Silver trilogy it definitely is. Like, it's kind of playing on her mind and all of that stuff. These books are just really silly, good fun, and sort of like the Ruby Red trilogy, everything's resolved very quickly, but you fall in love with the characters and I'm really gonna miss them. I've actually started rereading Ruby Red and I'm doing it really slowly just so I can kind of savor it, but I do feel that this is like the Ruby Red trilogy in the way that you sort of need to have read all of the books pretty close together. Like, I read these books as they came out, so there was a year gap in between me reading them, and it's not that you're gonna miss something, but it's like you have that sense of there were small details from the last book because Kirsten Gier as a writer doesn't repeat things. You know how there are some authors that just rehash absolutely everything in like the first 2 chapters of a book so you don't forget, but I would definitely say that these ones are way more subtle, and there's just characters that sort of weave in and out. Like, I'm doing this with my hands, like they weave in and out of each book, and it's not that you forget, you're just kind of like, oh, that person, you know, it's a very vague sense of, oh, yep, I know what's happening now. So that would be my suggestion. If you're going to read them, try to read them closer together. The last book that I read this month was, of course, part of the book buddy-a-thon with Jen, and that Kaleidoscope Hearts. This one I gave 3 stars to. It is a new adult book. I couldn't give it any more than 3 stars because it has a problem that Jen and I talk about frequently, and it's because she reads so much, and I mean, I read a lot of the things that she reads, and we can both critique it, and what it is that I feel like it would be something that would have been a better story if a different author had handled it. There is a girl in this one, her name is Elle, and she has had her fiance die. She moves in with her brother and sees her brother's friend who she's sort of had like a thing with for years. At the very beginning of the story, the guy Oliver, you kind of get the sense that he was headed in one direction, and then by like, I would say a third of the way through the book, he just turns into Mr. Perfect and everything sort of runs its course like that. I think that what happened is the authors sort of got confused about what they wanted to portray, but the overall message of it was really good. That's why I couldn't give it any more than 3 stars. In my opinion, I did like the message, but I have to wonder if someone else had had the story, had it have gone a bit differently, a little bit more explained. The other thing with this book is that sometimes you are with the characters like blow by blow every single second of the day, and then other times you skip forward like a month. So it's sort of like, it's a bit in that respect. That is everything that I have read in the first half of May. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if you want to read any of these books. Do I look okay without makeup? Because I feel like I look terrible and like my mouth is making this weird noise because it's dry and I hope that you enjoyed the cameo of Theo in this video. I love you all so much. I will see you in my next video, hopefully looking a little bit fresher, but I hope that you liked this one. I will talk to you guys soon. Lots of love, hugs and kisses. Bye.